Okay, this is my run of Lunari's escape room. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and start by placing that moss block all the way up in the sky so that my spawn point is set higher. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do is grab this shovel that's hidden in the back here. And I'm going to use it to just kill this cat in order to get to string, which is going to be used later on in the run. Now I'm just going to go ahead and get this pickaxe and then get 6 of these boats. I spent a long time trying to figure out how to get to every sort of death cycle here because boats on leads are really finicky. And I needed 6 boats. So that's why I'm kind of just jumping around all weird. But luckily it wasn't too bad, although this usually was just the biggest run killer. But I'm going to go ahead and get my last 2 here. And then once I spawn, I'm just going to place this boat here so that I can get back up much easier. I'm going to replace the moss block with this magenta terracotta and just use the other one to get across this gap easier. And now we're just going to be killing skeletons for a while. I'm going to get about 16 bones here. And this part's kind of just tedious. But we just need to use it to pretty much bone meal a bunch of moss, which is going to let us get a lot of blocks to get to a later point in the run. We're going to be doing something that's very clearly not intended. So to be honest, I could not figure out what ultimately the intended solution was for this map. And I really tried. I really tried to figure it out. But unfortunately, like, this map kind of has the same issues most maps, including like my old map does, where everything is just kind of like weirdly laid out and the player does not have a clue like what to do, and then the solution itself is also just a confusing mess where it's easy to soft lock and requires niche mechanics or just weird tech. Just a general kind of thing where it's probably fun to watch on a YouTube video and it works really well in a YouTube video, but it works really terribly in an actual map because you kind of get stuck forcing the player to do things that make no sense. So now we're just going to go ahead and use this moss to grind out getting wood. You're not able to pick up those bushes, but I figured I could just move the moss and then bone meal it and then grow the bushes that way, and that worked pretty well here. You might have noticed the stone that I picked up, the cobblestone, got removed from my inventory. This is another like weird mechanic. I don't really know why it was in the map, but every like 6.5 seconds, the cobblestone from your inventory specifically gets removed. I don't really get it. It just seems like something that was thrown in there arbitrarily to make the player just take longer to do things. And I guess that's sort of a puzzle. Kind of, not really. I don't know. Didn't make a lot of sense. But either way, it's not the only thing that's very weirdly placed in that the player just is supposed to deal with. At very least, that one's communicated. The other thing that's not communicated is that if you try to pillar up, there's just a point where there's a 3-block tall gap that is always filled with air. Obviously, it's to prevent you from pillaring up, but it's not really communicated to the player in any way unless you try to pillar up. So, of course, I found a way around it, because that's the best way to deal with silly restrictions, is to just find silly ways around it. Like when people started putting boats in the dispensers in my map so that they could keep them after the point where I took them away. It happens. And then I just did this thing where I learned how to make better maps. But now I have all the wood that I had, or that I needed, excuse me. So I'm gonna go ahead and press this button to expand the world border a little bit. And I'm gonna go back up. And I'm just gonna craft a couple things here. We're gonna make trapdoors, and then we're just gonna make some slabs just to kind of give myself more blocks. You'll see what the trapdoors are for in a second, but now I'm just going to go ahead and pillar up here. So like I said, we had that air gap that I need to somehow get past, and in order to do so, I'm just literally going to grow a tree right through it. So here I'm just trying to get one. I get one, and bam, there we go. Now I just have to actually get on the tree, even though I can't pillar up, and that is going to be what that string is for. Basically, I can just place boats on string, and that lets me place the boat way higher. I could also have used a sign, but this is just easier. And now I'm on top of the tree. And so the next step is just going to be pillaring up. I'm also just making sure I have a path to get back up, because I'm going to drop back down and I need to get back up later, which is why I'm going to place boats kind of as I build up here. But I'm trying to pillar up. There is a platform really high in the sky. Don't know what the intended solution is to get there, but there's a calibrated skulk sensor you're supposed to set off, presumably by eating a pufferfish, which I couldn't figure out how to get. You can get a bucket of pufferfish from the wandering trader, but it takes 3 emeralds, and I only ever figured out how to get 2. So I don't know if I was just missing items or what, but you know, I found a way around it anyways. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to a specific point here, and we're just going to go underneath the platform and use the old reliable disconnect glitch. First, I'm just going to break this trapdoor that I didn't mean to place. And then we're just going to clip through the floor and use this button to power this command block, which expands the world border again. And now, after I die, I'm able to get to a new place that I couldn't get to before, because it was outside the border, where I can get an Eye of Ender. And I just need that to activate a portal frame, which powers an observer that you can't see, that then expands the world border big enough for me to actually get to the end. The reason I'm not doing like any boat clutches to go faster is because I don't know why it feels so much more inconsistent to do it on these current versions. But here, I'm just going to go ahead and spawn an Enderman. I was originally going to try to route getting 2 pearls in, but because of standardized RNG, you have to kill 8 of them, which kind of sucks. This target block you're supposed to activate in order to get the Eye of Ender. I don't know what the intended thing was, but I just used the button there. And now it's just a matter of actually getting to the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and backtrack using the boats that I kind of left along this path here. As you can see, we got like this sort of like tower elevator thing. And now I just have to go over to the portal frame and then activate it. Throw the pearl, and we're going to be at the end of the run. Oh my god, that took forever. That took forever. 823, I will happily take that. I did that, kind of. But also, like, the map doesn't make sense. The map doesn't make sense. I don't know what the solution's supposed to be. It's so weird.